Hey, how's it going? Today we're taking a look at the wonderful world of white privilege. For today, let's examine an article that goes through some FAQs of racism and white privilege. And as always, like and subscribe. The article is from The Star and it's entitled, "What White Privilege? Why Can't You Be More Civil? Some FAQs about racism and answers you may find challenging." Denial of racism is complicity and essential to a supremacist system. But I've attempted to answer a few commonly expressed sentiments of people who don't get it. Well, Shri Paradkar, race and gender columnist, please inform me. I'm not racist. We're all racist. There is no systemic racism. We're all racist is another way of saying nobody is racist. Unless we use "we're all racist" to examine all the ways in which this is so. Wait, I'm sorry. That's not how the English language works. Those are actually not the same, but the exact opposite. One states that all discriminate based on race, and the other states that no one does. Neither of which are true, by the way. None of us is immune in a society where we're trained to be racist. I must have missed the training day. We absorb centuries of messages of whom we consider superior, whom inferior, whom we consider good-looking, whom capable, whom criminal, whom credible, whom measured, whom strident. So we absorb centuries of messages. I can't even remember what I had for lunch yesterday. Somehow I'm remembering stuff that existed before I did. We're hearing the messages throughout the centuries. Whom we consider good-looking? Is there no biology that plays a part in that? When politicians say systemic racism doesn't exist, they erase historical racism. Slavery in Canada, residential schools, legal segregation of schools, hospitals, churches, neighborhoods. We don't need a conspiracy. No, the system, it does it for us. So, systemic racism doesn't exist, erases historical racism. How? Does saying dinosaurs don't exist now erase all evidence that they ever existed? I don't see color. I don't care if you're white, black, or purple with polka dots. This sentiment is usually accompanied by some iteration of a quote by Martin Luther King Jr. that we not judge people by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. Sorry, but I'm judging the people who quote MLK in this context as lacking in character. What? I mean, really? Someone is lacking in character because they quote someone who is black, saying that we shouldn't judge based on race, but character? Really? I mean, think about that for just a moment. That sounds like it has the inklings of some racism. I think your progressive privilege is showing. That's because they haven't bothered to read the whole speech, or even the whole sentence, already. So we're going to get informed here. She's going to spell it out for us by putting the whole sentence here, which should enlighten us. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Doesn't that seem like the exact same thing that she was criticizing people's character for quoting? Colorblindness is privilege and erasure. I don't know why it is privilege or what it is erasing. I mean, this is supposed to be answering these frequently asked questions. What is it erasing? Presumably, I'm erasing experience by doing so. I mean, I somehow have that ability, like I must be Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet or something, able to just snap my fingers and go back in time and wipe out their precious, precious memories? Gone. Poof. From existence. It means you're not discriminated against based on the color of your skin. That seems like a good thing. It may mean you think you don't notice other people's race. Yet your close social circles and family circles are likely to be monochromatic. The insanity, it's real. Like, my family circles are likely to be monochromatic. Like, I think I'm going to match the race of my family. It's just me. Maybe I'm crazy, but I figured that's how biology works. Claiming to be colorblind doesn't mean one is literally blind to race. We don't not see that someone is a different color, but the sentiment is rather that I'm going to treat them as if we are the same color. As in, it doesn't come to mind actively, why should I treat them different? I'm going to treat them how I want to be treated, because they are a human being just like I am. There are bad apples in every field. Why are you painting everyone in a bad light? Why are you calling me a racist? Not all cops, not all whites, not all men, not all heterosexuals, not all able-bodied people, even the able-bodied people. It's a given not every single person in a group acts in a bigoted way, but a bad apples construct discounts the unspoken power dynamics that operate in societies. So power dynamics in society. I mean, that always seems to be the issue here, doesn't it? It's all about power. Who has the power? Except the left, those shouting the loudest in protest, are the ones with the most power already. Sure, it's not a complete dictatorial power yet, although Trudeau is coming pretty close to that in Canada.
Admiration I actually have for China, because their basic dictatorship.
But hey, consider Noel's tweet, "The left controls every major institution in America. Mainstream media, the academy, administrative government, Hollywood, big tech, etc." So, if institutional racism really did exist, whose fault would that be? And the same argument fits even more so here in Canada. Consider that the Liberals have been in power for about 70 of the last 100 years. So 70% of the time, the left has been in charge. So if the existing powers are the problem, we should probably push for more, conservative ideas and approaches. Let's try those out some. Let's try something different. Number 4, what white privilege? The Italians, Irish, Ukrainians were also discriminated against. Alternatively, my ancestors were dirt poor. They worked their way up. Alternatively, what about personal responsibility? AKA, why don't these people pull themselves up by the bootstraps? Also a colorblind approach that suggests if European settlers could overcome those barriers, anybody can. All it needs is hard work. The more the people claiming to be fighting against racism seem to have, when you really drill down to what they're saying, kind of racist viewpoints. So she says if European settlers can overcome, anyone can, and criticizes that. Like, how can you expect others to be able to do what European settlers can? What? Excuse me? Think about that. That's quite the racist sentiment when you consider it. The opposite of European settlers can do it, so you can too, is to basically essentially say that non-white people are less capable. This, again, seems an argument for colorblindness in believing that we are all equal. We are all valuable people who are unique and precious and having been made in the image of God. Yeah, the idea is, hey, if I can do it, you can too, because we are equal. I'm no better than you, so if I can do it, you can too. When black and brown people are stopped by police or even attacked when they seek help, it's not because they've not shown grit. It's because they're judged by the color of their skin before they're assessed for anything else. The problem from being judged by color of skin. If only, the people doing the judging were colorblind and not judging based on skin color, but the content of the character. All nations have problems. What about where you come from? Agreed. All nations are bad actors who put self-interest first. Nationhood as it exists is a flawed concept, but while issues of oppression exist worldwide, shouldn't our standards of civilized behavior be independent of relativism? Western nations have problems to work through, but when compared with other nations with even worse issues, it seems that, hey, we're not doing as bad, so let's not throw everything out because we seem to be doing something right, or something better anyway. So we need to be very careful with what we throw out, lest we throw out the better part of our society. I mean, consider you don't scrap the whole car just because you got a flat tire. And just as an aside, nationhood as it exists is a flawed concept. Oh boy. Like, we're dealing with a globalist here, aren't we? Why have more options for different sets of laws and values when we can have only one monolithic nation that controls everything? That said, where I come from, I am an oppressor identity. That's an interesting way to put that. You've heard the term of humble bragging. This seems like a similar concept, a similar sort of non-guilt confession. I am of an oppressor identity, but I'm not myself an oppressor. I imagine most feel that they aren't an oppressor. And what does it mean if all or almost all of an oppressor identity group are not oppressors? When does the group cease to be an oppressive group? What percentage needs to stop oppressing? 50%? 75%? How about 99%? Is that not good enough to stop being called the oppressive group? My job is with a Canadian newspaper to write for a Canadian, not just white audience. Sure, that would be weird. This is the Just for White column of the newspaper. In Canada, whiteness is the racial hierarchy that most privileges white people. But especially straight, check. White, check. Able-bodied, check. Men, check. So I checked all those boxes. I must be the worst of the worst. Or maybe I'm the best of the best. That's one of the dangers with all of this. You keep telling a particular group of people that they are privileged, they are special, they are better off. And how long before that starts to sink in and warp people? And then they think, yeah, you know what? I am special. I am better off. I am better. I do agree with the latter though, and yes, it falls on those with the most power to be the most accountable. I agree. Those with more are to be more accountable as they have more to be accountable for. I'm sure we disagree on the specifics if we were to drill down further as to what that means, but there is the expectation for you to take advantage of what you have, to use your blessings, to be good stewards of what you have, using your gifts wisely. While there are legit privileges for different groups of people, like the privilege of having loving parents who are there for you, but yes, there are privileges. And I don't think this is based on skin color, but certainly I am privileged. We all have different privileges, but rather than bemoan the fact that I am privileged, I for one will be grateful for what I have. You know, count your blessings. Use what you have to help those who are less fortunate, less privileged. For sure, definitely. But don't let others make you feel bad for being successful, for being able to provide for your family. Don't feel bad for taking initiative and making something of yourself. Be grateful. And hey, pay it forward when you can.